All right. Guys, remember where we stopped, right? We were talking about payment, right? When you've got suppliers or employees working in a project, they need to be paid, right? They need to be paid. Right. You see, this is why I said you must come to the class early enough, right? Okay. Don't worry, the camera is seeing you that you are coming late. You're coming late to the class. You must try to come early. Right? Guys, quite okay. Let's listen. Listen. There was a student that told me yesterday that, were you not the one that told me yesterday that I must lock the class so that they won't be coming late? Yeah, you must always try to come early. Okay, it's very important. So, guys, payment is very important. You need to pay your suppliers, you need to pay your employees, right? If you don't pay them, what is going to happen? They're going to dump you, right? So you must make sure as a project manager, you need to authorize, right? So we talked about certain things that need to come, take this out. Certain things that needs to be done for you to be able to ensure that the payment is made. Then we talk about invoice. Invoice needs to be submitted as well as along with what? Your delivery note. Remember, we talk about delivery note. Can you still remember what we mean by delivery note? When you are a supplier, you'll be issued what we call LPO, local purchase order. So by the time you put your supplies together, you need to go and deliver, right? You go there with your delivery note. You sign your delivery note. Then your invoice along with your delivery note, you submit that for them to process your payment. We talk about that. We talk about how delivery note needs to be checked against the invoice to avoid possible fraud, right? You know, a lot of people are fraudulent. You need to safeguard against possible fraud. And you need to agree on the terms of payment, right? Perhaps it could be 30 days after delivery. Sometimes it could be instant payment, right? It depends on the agreement or the terms of the contract. Sometimes it could be 60 days, right? I know public works, they pay 30 days, right? There are some establishments they pay 60 days, right? So you need to put those into consideration. Then you need to be able to compare the payment, right, made. You need to compare it with your budget to make sure that you don't exhaust your money, right? In other words, there should be what we call cost control, right? You should be able to control your cost, the stream of payment that is coming in as well as the payment that is going out. You must make sure that there is always a positive balance, right? It will make your account to be healthy, which is something very important to take note of. Then we said in terms of authorization, you mustn't have a situation whereby only one person is authorizing payment, right? Otherwise, you can make that person head to be swollen, and that person one day can become something else, can defraud the project, right? There should be someone else to countersign. You know what I mean by countersign, right? To authorize payment. For you to influence two people is always difficult, but if it is one person, it's very difficult. It's easy to buy one person, right? To bribe one person is easy than two people. Like yesterday, I told you, if you want to make the system to be uh, proof, to be what? Fault proof, let me put it that way. If you want it to be fault proof, you take a lady to countersign, a man plus a woman to countersign, because ladies, most of the time, they are not fraudulent. It's difficult for you to bribe a lady. Very difficult, unless she wants to help you. Do you understand what I mean? But if you want to do something that is not nice in a crookish way, ladies, they don't buy into that. So you can uh, use that type of system to make sure that the system is a fraud proof. You know what I mean by fraud proof, right? No room for people to commit fraud, right? You see this, the president of Namibia, the lady president of Namibia, you see she's doing very well. There are so many countries these days where the president is a lady. There are so many countries these days and they are doing very well. So I'm advocating that one of these days we should make a lady president of South Africa and see how it's going to look like. All these crimes going to be solved, right? They will address all these petty crimes you are seeing all about. Let's just give it a try and see what is going to happen. Then payment can be placed through what? EFT, right? Here we are talking about mode of payment now. Those days, most of the payments used to be by writing a check through check payment, right? How many of you have seen the checkbook? Have you seen the checkbook before? Yeah, it's not unusual because these days we hardly make use of checkbook. It's EFT these days. If you want to make international transaction overseas, sometimes you don't even need to go to the bank. If I want to make payment overseas, I use my apps here, put it in. Then you send it to go to Reserve Bank. Then the Reserve Bank will approve it. Then the money go through quickly. Sometimes within one day, it goes through. Things are very quick these days. You use EFT, right? And when you pay with EFT, you can revise the payment as well. That is the good news about it. Maybe you made a mistake, you can reverse the payment, which is good. So, yeah, we need to know about that. So, we said before any payment is made, you need to make sure that you liaise with the finance department to make sure that the money is there. Because it will be very awkward. You issue the check, you authorize payment, and at the end of the day, the check bounces back. That will have, you know, a bad reputation on the company, on the project, right? So all these things you need to take note. That is what we were talking about yesterday. So you need to make sure that you do the monetary controlling and make sure that the suppliers they deliver. Right. That is what we mean by contract administration. You must make sure that all parties that are involved they do their work with due diligence. They deliver. Because if any of the parties involved in executing the project, no matter how little or big that the parties need to contribute to the success of the project, if they are not delivering, it's going to affect the overall project. So you must administer it. We call it contract administration to make sure that each of the parties involved they deliver, right? Not necessarily only to deliver, they deliver on time, and the quality must be maintained as well, right? So now that leads us to project documentation, right? We say project administration must be recorded efficiently so that all the stakeholders can keep track of all operations. Here we are talking about documentation of all activities that are happening in a project. Why? So that it can be tracked. The stakeholders, they want to know what is happening. Right. If everything is happening in a project are always done verbally in the cloud, right? It will be very difficult for you to track the progress. Things needs to be documented. Things needs to be put in black and white. You know what I mean by black and white? If somebody say put something in black and white, that means must be written down for evidence sake, right? Perhaps when there could be a kind of litigation, right? Litigation means dispute. So what are you going to use to back up as an evidence? You need to refer to something that you've written down. Sometimes if it is orally, verbally, somebody can deny, say I didn't say so, right? But when you have what we call prima facie evidence, we call it prima facie in law, then you show to them, say, look at it, you said so, it was documented. You understand what I mean? And besides that, you need to document. There is that need again to make sure that project documents, activities are written down, or are you? There is also the need to have what we call template. You know, template in a pro. You know what is a template? A template is a pre-formatted document, right? It's like a form. Most of the documentation in project management are always in template to save time, to save energies, for you not to be scrambling, scratching your head. Hey, how am I going to write this email? Right? How am I going to make this report? All are in template. You just complete it. Right? That is how project document is being constituted to make things easier. We've got a lot of templates that are being used in managing projects. We're going to talk about the template in due course, right? So, examples of document find in a project. What type of document can you find in a project? The type of document you could find in a project. That is what we want to discuss about now, right? We got information about the structure and organization of the project, right? Such information that is very important in a project is the structure. You know what I mean by the organogram? Organogram, right? It's very important because when you walk into a project environment, you need to know who is who, ostensibly, and it's very important. Like you walk into the college here, you need to know who is the campus manager, right? Below the campus manager, who is reporting to the campus manager? You know, there should be a structure in place. When you look at any organization that got no structure, it means that that organization is disorganized, right? And it will be very difficult for such organization to achieve their organizational goal or its organizational goal because there is no structure. In a project environment, it's the same thing. There must be a structure, right? So I'm the project manager per se. If it's, for example, if here is a project environment, perhaps you are the team leader, then you have the team members, right? Then that line of reporting and, or let me put it this way, that line of authority and reporting must be there, right? I, the project manager, by virtue of my portfolio, I give instructions, directives to the team leader in terms of what needs to be done. Are you understanding? Then the team leader needs to give directives to the team members, as the case may be. Right. Now, when it comes to reporting, the team leader must report, the team members, so to say, must report to the team leader. Then the team leader must report to the project manager. Right. It doesn't end there, perhaps. The project manager must report to the sponsors or the project steering committee, as the case may be. Do you see how it works? Right? So that kind of structure needs to be written down. There must be a document to show that the organogram. It's not something that you just say in the air, in the cloud. We've got a project manager, the project, we've got a team leader, we've got the team members, then we've got the sponsors. It must be documented, right? So it's a kind of document that is very important as far as project execution is concerned that you could find mostly in a project environment. Does it make sense? Right. Then directories of project members that include their names, contact details, and positions. It's a kind of project document which is very important. We call it directories, right? How many of you have seen a telephone directory here? You know, these days we don't make use of directories. Those days, telephone directories was very important. When you got a phone line, it's not necessarily having a phone line. You get a copy of it. Anywhere you want to phone, you check the directory, you see the name of the organization or the name of the person, the contact detail, you phone. That time we were using landline. You know landline. There was some those days you put coins. Later they introduced card, right? Some people still have landline at home, right? Where you die. There used to be a book that contains all the whole telephone number in a certain area. We got directory for Western Cape. It contains all the names and telephone numbers, the contact details of all those people that have subscribed to Telcom on a specific book. So those days when you were looking, if you want to look for somebody, you check because that thing is arranged in alphabetical order. How many of you have seen that? Telephone directory. You know what I'm talking about. Have you seen the telephone directory? You've seen one? Okay. In a project environment, we have something of that nature, but it's not a telephone directory for the project. The whole members working in the project, team members, sponsors, all the whole stakeholders, their names are there, the contact details are there. So that when you are looking for somebody, you can refer to that directory to know, to be able to contact that person. Right? Don't you think something like that is important? For example, let's say like here now in the college, the if you go to the student support, they got your contact details. They got your contact details. Right? What is amusing you? Huh? Don't be amused, God. You must listen. We are not playing here. This is your bread and butter. It's your future, God. No? This is your future. Don't play with it. If I start laughing now and I laugh with you throughout the whole period, it's over. I'm gonna get my salary, but at the end of the day, you wouldn't know what you're supposed to do. And that doesn't stop you from writing your final exam. You're gonna write it, right? So let's be serious. Okay, no problem. I know you are a disciplined guy, right? Yeah. So you need to have a telephone directory that got the names and whatever. Then there is what we call distribution list. You know where I came in contact with these things I'm teaching you. There was a time when I was young like you. I used to work in a construction company. Most of these things I saw it there in the company when we were doing project, construction work. They used to have what they call distribution list. That distribution list was a small book like this, right? You see a thick back. This your test, your book, notebook. It's a small one. They cut it. So the first time I saw that thing, how they were using it, whenever they want to distribute letters, dispatch, let me call it, they call it dispatch, right? Whenever they want to dispatch letter at that time, they will go with that book. Then they will come to the company. They will give you, if you are the one to receive it, then they will give you the parcel. Then they will ask you, they will write the whatever that is there, the name of the message, what was there, then they will ask you to sign. So that one acts as an evidence that it has been delivered. Right? Then they have a list, a distribution list of all the names where they need to dispatch that particular item to. So that is what we refer to as a distribution list. Let's see what we have here. We said not all members of project team get the same information, right? Those ones that you know you want to receive a certain part of information, you need to have a kind of a list for them. For example, it's like a database. These days we call it database. Then so you have to set up a separate distribution list for different level of project. For example, in your email, you can do that one. You can set it up, right? Distribution list in an email. If you want to send a message to all the members in the distribution list, you don't just have to be writing the email one by one. Most of you, you know how to do that. Even me, I've done it before. I've got a set of group. I just set up a distribution list. If you are using Microsoft Office, you can do it there. You set it up. When you want to send an email, you just click it once, then you distribute it. That is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Then you have to set up a separate distribution list for different members. Right. That is how that one works. How many of you have done that before? How many of you know how to set up a distribution list in an email? They must teach you. You ask your LO lecturers how to do that. Right. For example, we got distribution list for Atlantic staff, West Coast College. So if they want to send us a message, they don't have to go and start looking for our individual email. They just use that distribution list. Once they use it, all the emails, all the recipients, those people in the list in the whole of Atlantis will receive the email. The same thing in Mamersville, the same thing in Frendenberg, right? So you must learn how to set up a distribution list on your computers, on your email. Very important, right? Then examples of document find in project management, we are still continuing on that. The formal communication network of the project should be maintained and filed, right? Then project skills register. The skill register must be maintained in the project, right? I remember those days they used to collect our CVs, right? They put it in a file. Even in the college here, we got this one here, skill register. It's in the office of the campus manager. We got the CVs, the certificate of the teachers that are working here. For example, if the department happens to come in to check, right, to look into our files, it's very easy for them to take that file to see our qualifications, to see whether we are qualified in delivering what we are delivering here, rather than asking individual. Right. In the same vein, in the project environment, you have the skill register, whereby the CVs of the people that are involved in the project, their qualification, everything is there. You need to keep that. That is what we are saying. It's a very important document required in a project environment. There you know whether this engineer, the project manager that is leading the project work, whether he's qualified. I remember those days, you're gonna laugh at this. I remember those days, there was a guy we were working with. He said he's an engineer. He called himself an engineer. But when they asked him to bring his certificate, it took him a long time. I don't even know whether he was able to bring the certificate. But you say you are an engineer, you bearing the name of an engineer, you receive your salary as an engineer. But the department then, the government, the project we were working on, the government requested for a certificate. So you cannot be an engineer in a construction site. You don't have a qualification to make you an engineer. Did you see? Something of that nature. To avoid that, you keep it so that when the department asks or whosoever that is asking, then you can be able to present it. It's very important. Right. How would the department know? For example, if the department wants to know whether I've got a degree, right, in project management to teach you project management. You see, because if I don't have the qualification, obviously I'm not going to teach you good stuff. I'm not qualified to teach you. Why must I be employed to teach you the subject that I'm not qualified to? Right. Then a record of leave. You know leave. 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 Oh, you haven't started working. You don't know what is a leave, right? We got sick leave, right? Sometimes you not feeling well, right? We got a leave that you need to complete for sick leave. Family responsibilities. We got leave for family responsibility. Perhaps you are not feeling well or you got something that is occupying you. My friend, I say you mustn't move up and down. Otherwise, this is going to be twisted. Right? Anyhow, today is his first day. He don't know about this stuff. He think it's the old system before, not knowing that we've advanced now. Right? Okay. Then a record of leave, sick leave. This is done by completing the leave form. That you need to have as well record of the training that the project staff have undergone. If perhaps you've trained some staff of the project or any staff of the project to upgrade their skill, their, to improve on their level of performance, then you must put the record there, right? So that anyone that is coming to look at the project document can see that, oh, you were trained, yeah? You went on training at certain specific period of time, and what you were trained on, all those things must be captured, right? In most projects, templates of the document are used so that document and the system are standardized. That is what I explained to you before. How will you be able to deal with all these issues of documentation to make it easier? We do make use of templates, right? Templates makes things to be uniform. To standardize means to be uniform, right? Any question? Perhaps? Who got a question? No question, right? These are the templates we are talking about. It's a lot, no? These are the templates. In the exam, they will ask you to give examples of templates that are being used in project management to perform certain operation functions or to perform certain duties, right? For example, we have memos. Memos is used for what? Correspondence. You know correspondence? When you want to correspond or communicate internally within an organization, you use memo. Those days we used to call it circular memo for internal communication, right? You need to know that. Then you got, let me be going like this, vertically or horizontally. How do you like it? Vertical or horizontal? Horizontal. Okay. Now emails, right? Emails. You use email. It's a template. It's a template. Do you realize that? That an email is a template. Because you just complete it. Right? It's standardized. It's uniform. The way your email looks like in terms of the information you need to. I'm not talking about the specific information. The format. The format is the same all over. You have the to, from, subject, right? It's all the same. It's a template. So it's a good example. In case they ask you in the exam to give examples of correspondence. Email as well is used for correspondence, right? For communication purpose. Document transmittal form. You wouldn't know about this, most of you, but I will explain to you what it means. Guys, were you or can you reflect your mind back those days where we used to use a fax machine? You know fax machine, right? Okay, you were very young that time, right? This one, document transmitter form, it goes with fax machine, right? It's like the cover page. It's a template. You fill how many pages, right? That you are transmitting, you are sending. Then where you are sending it to, the receiver, the sender, the contact, everything will be on the front page. Then that will be the first one that you go, the first one that you're gonna send, right? Before you start, sometimes Later, we had the machines, you don't need to send it one by one. You just put it, then start sending by itself. When the recipient receive it, he will be able to know, he or she will be able to see on your transmitter how many pages. If there is any page that's lost, one can easily track it back, right? So that is how we use that. Then program schedules, all the whole program, right? For example, Gantt chart and all those type of stuff are in form of template. Equipment or equipment data sheet. You know what is equipment data sheet? I will explain to you. In a project environment, we make use of some, let me put it this way to be more clearer to you. Some projects, perhaps they don't need equipment, right? You know about that. It's not all project that you need to make use of equipment. Is it true of us? Equipment. It's not all project that you make use of equipment. There are certain projects you do require heavy equipment or light equipment. Okay, what I'm trying to put across is this. In any project that you do make use of equipment, you need to list it down, right? You list all the equipment, the name of the equipment, the model of the equipment, the serial number, the data of all the equipment, when that equipment was manufactured, the capacity of that equipment, you need to write everything down. Where do you write it down? On equipment data sheet. That is why we call it data sheet. Equipment data sheet. It contains the data of the equipment you are using in a project environment. If you have a caterpillar, you know caterpillar, you must write the name of the caterpillar, the year that caterpillar was manufactured, the year that you bought that manufactured, you bought the caterpillar, the horsepower of the caterpillar. Why I'm saying this, I told you I've worked in the construction industry before. That is where I saw most of this stuff. Right? We used to, even me, they used to say, I used to see it, how they complete the data sheet, equipment data sheet of the equipment that we were using that time. We used to have bulldozer. It was a big construction company. We got grader, you know, crane. That big crane. We used to have crane, not one, not two, a lot of cranes. We used to write it down. Right. Then procedures. The procedures that needs to be taken in doing things needs to be written down. The contract. The contract could be contract with the suppliers. Remember, when you've issued a quotation, then the potential supplier will provide their offer in form of prices. Then when you struck a deal with the supplier, you need to engage in a contract, right? You write everything down. So that type of document that you use to engage in a contract is a template as well, right? You just need to complete it. That is what we are talking about. Budget authorization, they got a template for that in terms of how you need to authorize payment, how you need to make sure that you control all expenses that have been incurred in the project to make sure that the project does not exceed the budget. Change orders if there are variations that needs to be made, right? There is a form that needs to be completed that this item must be removed and be replaced with this particular item. So there is a template for that. Then rectification instructions. For example, if you've done something in a project, right? And if the inspector comes in to see that what you've done is not right, then they can issue an order for you to rectify it. Rectify means to amend it, to make it good, to put the